Hey all, in this video we'll be revisiting the iMac, more specifically the keyboard. As mentioned in the iMac video, the eject key doesn't work, and so I intend to open it back up and see if it's something that I did, such as damage a trace or a contact pad, or maybe I just didn't do a good enough job cleaning. Plus I kinda want to make up for the fact that I didn't have any disassembly footage of the iMac itself, so I'm hoping this makes up for it. Anyway, let's get started.
Well, let's get to it. You can see how scratched up the bottom was. As I mentioned, this was used, but that's okay. I'm trying to remember what size these were. I think these are definitely hex screws, but I don't remember the actual size. It might be a 1.3. Yes. Okay. So 1.3 millimeter. There's only 3 screws in the bottom, so all you have to do is unscrew them, and the base should remove itself from the rest of the keyboard. I might try to buff this out maybe too while I have it off. We'll see. That probably won't be on the video though, because that'll be really long and boring. So it should separate. Yep, and it does. And I believe these are just zero insertion force cables. I think that's what they're called, but they just slide right out. And that's that. As you can see, there's not much to the actual controller itself. Some capacitors, there's chips underneath, and that's it. But I don't have to take this part out, I don't believe, because I don't think there's anything wrong with this, although I probably should double check it to be safe. But that should be all I need to disassemble for now. What we need to look at is actually under this steel plate here. This has many, 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 many more screws. And I need to take them all out in order to be able to get to the actual flexible circuit board to check the actual contact for the key. And I'm not going to sit there and record the entire process. I'm going to stop the video here, take the screws out, and then resume it. Okay, so I have all the screws out. Unfortunately, I stripped some of them. Oh well, I think I've got some adequate replacements somewhere, I'm sure. So the steel plate just kind of gives it some stability, and it works as a backing for the rest of the keyboard. But what we're most interested in is this guy right here, which is just a flexible circuit board. Gotta make sure I don't knock these out of alignment, either these rubber contact pads, because they're a huge pain in the butt. And on top of that, they bounce around very, very, very easily. So let's take a look. So this would be the top of the keyboard if you were looking down on it. Let's move this a little bit here. So as such, this right here, this contact here is the eject key. I'm noticing something. I'm not quite sure. No, maybe not. But you know what? Let's clean it off with some rubbing alcohol anyway, just to be on the safe side. And while that's drying quickly, we'll take a look at the contact pad for the eject key itself and clean it off just to be safe. Now, I'd love to be able to test the full keyboard without having to reassemble the whole thing, but I'm going to have to put this back on, reattach the steel plate, and then at the very least reconnect the ribbons to the actual control board, and then I can test it out. So I'm gonna stop the video again because you don't want to see me put a bunch of screws back in. Fortunately, this will be the last time I will have to take it apart, because if it still doesn't work after giving it a good cleaning, then there's not going to be much else I can do. As I said, I don't see any broken traces or anything. Doesn't mean that there aren't any, but I just don't see anything, and I don't have like a microscope to really be able to check anything out. But I mean, as I mentioned in the original iMac video, someone had spilled something in here, so it's entirely possible that it seeped through. And although every other key did work, so not quite sure. But all right, let me stop and we'll pick back up again after I have it reassembled. Okay, so I've got it mostly reassembled, just enough to get it working. And starting the Mac up, I turned on the overhead light, so it's gonna be a little darker, but it'll make it easier to see the actual screen. So sorry about that if it's too dark, but at this point we're interested more in seeing if the eject button works than we are anything going on over here. So mouse works, although it's plugged directly in, so not too surprised. Okay. Yep, still not working, unfortunately. Oh, probably help if I plugged it in, huh? Yep. Other keys are still working. But eject is just not working. Well, I guess let's take a look at the controller and see if there's any damaged traces. I doubt it, but you never know. So we'll take a look at that and see if we can get it working from that standpoint. But if not, then I think I'm just going to call this one a loss. All right, so make sure to unplug the keyboard this time. Let's pull these cables out again. Set this to the side and take a look at traces. Look fine, best as I can tell. The capacitors, again, they don't look like they're bulging or leaking or anything, so they should still be in good shape. And the fact that the rest of the keyboard works probably means that there is nothing wrong with the controller. But gotta do my due diligence, right? Let me also, just to clean it up a little bit, maybe they're speck of dust or something ridiculous like that. So to take this out, I believe all I have to do is take out these few screws here, because I don't need to disassemble the entire case. At least I hope I don't have to. That'll be really annoying. 3. And there's one screw hidden underneath this USB cable, so I'm hopefully not going to have to mess with that. Let's lift this. One thing that does surprise me about this keyboard is that Apple usually pays attention to a lot of detail. And in this case, though, they just have the USB cable soldered directly into the board. Even like cheap, no-name brand keyboards usually use a connector of some sort. But it is what it is. Now let me see, can I lift this out? Yes. Okay, some RF shielding on here to block, which probably means there's not going to be any broken traces under here, just because of the fact that I don't think anyone's been in here since Apple manufactured it. So we'll focus here. Everything looks good here. These capacitors and resistors look like they're in good shape. Same with here. These are just connectors and traces. I don't see anything bad here. So I'm just going to chalk it up to either just a bad contact on the circuit board or perhaps something wrong with the controller chip itself. But this is manufactured by Mitsumi, which in Japan is a very well-known manufacturer of electronics components and keyboards specifically. And they've got a good reputation about them. So, but then again, I mean, this keyboard is from 2003 era or around abouts that. So who knows? Yeah, I just don't see anything wrong here. All right, well, I'm going to get this guy back together and probably stop the video here because there's no point in continuing. But at least you got to see the inside of the keyboard, and hopefully it was a little bit enlightening.
So I guess that's it. We didn't manage to fix it, but that's okay. As I mentioned in the full iMac video, I can't see myself installing a lot of software on here, and I can always just transfer files over the network. If I have to use the optical drive, I can just type in drutil tray eject into terminal app. So hit the thumbs up if you liked the video and feel free to leave a comment. Don't forget to hit the little bell too, it'll notify you of any updates on this channel. If you didn't like the video, hit the thumbs down button, but please leave a comment so that I can make improvements in the future. Thanks all, and I'll catch you later.